What is going on, everybody? Luke here. In today's video, we're just going to go over the IPI score for finalizing your volume of stock that you can send to Amazon. So many of you might have received an email like this. It says your final FBA storage limit notice. So that's obviously when it calculates your potential volume that you can send in. So meaning you have a certain amount of space at Amazon, and if your IPI is not within a certain parameters, a certain sort of gauge or whatever, you get parameters, then it could impact your potential to send stock in. So even if you have a restock limit of 100,000, the actual space that you can max out could be 20,000. So you've got to kind of use both of those alongside the IPI to obviously work out what you can send in. Because obviously if you go over the space, you end up having to pay a £8.80 per cubic foot per month. And that might not sound a lot of money, but if you work out obviously how much your stock actually takes up, it might be that it adds up. So you can actually see here, my score is 479. So it's below the 500 that allows you unlimited storage or unlimited space, more I'm going to talk about. And so how does that impact my account now that this is finalized for the next quarter, which is Q4, of course. So you've got to be careful, obviously, if you're going to send a lot of stock in, how does it impact that quarter? And Q4 is the one time you want to have, almost unlimited supply because, unlimited space, because you don't really know what you're going to be sending in and how much you'll be selling. With me, obviously, I want to try to hit £1 million over just the Q4 period. So the 3 months, and so I'm going to have to turn over a lot of stock, probably 90,000 units, maybe 100,000 units, if I can. But we'll obviously see how that goes, and I'll update you as the journey progresses. So you would have seen this, and let's jump across my account so you can actually see what's going on. So you can see here that I currently have 7,394 units in stock, and I'm ramping up this month and next month. So that will hopefully be 15, 20,000, probably hopefully around 20,000 if I can. It's just depending on how quick I can get stock when I buy it, because obviously stuff like wholesale takes a little longer. Stuff is slightly delayed, so there was a slight delay in getting it to the prep center. Obviously the prep center's then got to prep it all. But I can see by the end of next month, this being at least 15 to 20. It just depends on deals, what I find, what I don't find, the prep center, how fast they are. Various things like that. So you can see here, it currently says my maximum inventory level is 35,000 or a bit under. So I have a massive amount to send. But if your storage volume, which is what is impacted by that email, is not high enough, then you're screwed, basically. But in this case, you can see here, my current usage is 645 cubic feet for that. So the current stock of 7,394 units takes up 645 cubic feet. Now, you can see my current storage is this, and my next period storage is actually 5,000. And if you work that out, I can send in 57,482 units before this will be maxed out. Of course, I actually can't even get that high. So really, this will be overridden. This will just get knocked on the side, basically, because now this is obviously the focus. So this is actually going to hit this limit before I even hit this limit. And so therefore, yes, this could go up over the next, every week it seems to be going up. So it could meet, as I send stock in and this goes up, this could meet this, and this won't change. So this could actually end up being less important than this, because within the next month, I may have 60,000 maximum inventory level. And of course, I can't send that much in because I just told you I worked out that I could send in, based on the current calculations, about 57,500. Now, how do I work that out? All I did is I got this 645.28, divided that by my current stock to find out how much space one unit is taking up. I then banged that on. I just basically noted that down, that number, which is like 0.0 something. 0.08, I think it was. And then I got the total storage limit and I divided it by that number, and it comes up with 57,482, which is roughly based on the current product range that I got, and I usually sell the same kind of products. That's roughly the limit. Of course, if I send in larger products or smaller products, I'll be able to send in either more small or less large, which will obviously take up more space, or less space, depending on what option I choose. But as an average, as a rough calculation, 57,000. If we were being careful, maybe we'll say 50,000. But 50,000 is like, if you have 50,000, then you could probably do it couple of million in sales, 2 million. And so obviously even 30,000 is plenty. And so not only here have I got a decent bit of leg room, because 30,000, like last year I had 20,000 units. And so I did 500 grand in Q4. And so you can kind of go off this if you just want to go, okay, how much would $1 million be? Actually, $1 million would in theory potentially be higher than this, but where the stock is going in so quick and selling, with me being more of a volume seller, this number can go up and down. I might sell that much in one day over Q4, and so obviously that means the following day I can send in another. If I was maxing out this and I sold this much per day, that means tomorrow I could go and create a shipment of 7,400 units, and that potentially would go in and sell the day after. Obviously it would take longer to get into the prep center, to get into Amazon, but you kind of get what I mean. This is less important in terms of when you get up there, of course, you're going to be selling stuff. So your actual utilized quantity will be dropping. You'll send more stock in, it will drop again, but before you actually send in your next shipment, and so on and so on. And over Q4, definitely when you get into the nitty gritty stuff, end of November, December, this can go, my stock limit my utilized quantity can fluctuate from 20,000 then to like 15,000. Then I send in 3,000, then I might book in 3,000 units, and it will just sort of fluctuate quite aggressively up and down. And so I usually will always be able to kind of work around this. But again, you obviously want to be careful of what is your next storage limit, because I've seen some accounts where they have 450 IPI, which is lower than mine, but it's still under that 500. I'm the same as them. Their current next storage limit is not that great. It's probably not even double what they've got. Of course, I've got plenty of space. We just worked out. So again, that may be also dependent on your account. So not only is the IPI direct, it's not directly impacting this, because if you sell like a million, let's say you're doing $1 million a year turnover, of course, just because you're under that threshold, you won't always be given that same storage limit across every account. It will be based on current standing of your account. How many do you usually sell? What is your average sales? And so this is a little bit difficult to kind of say if you've got under 500, you're going to be slapped with X amount of space, because it is variable. It will change depending on what account you have, as in what kind of account you have. Do you sell more standard items that don't sell as fast? What is your average sales? What is your average unit sales? Do you sell a lot of units? And so if they know that I sell a lot of units, they may give me more space. But again, because they also will reflect on my previous Q4, they'll see, this account did 500,000. Okay, well, we want to give them obviously a max limit, because we don't want like 100,000 units going in, because last year he had 20. But again, we don't want to also restrict them too much, because he did sell, crazy amounts of volume over that period, and I did the previous year, and so on and so on. And so it's going to be adjusted according to your account standing and account based on each individual business. So you just want to be aware ultimately that this next storage limit, based on that calculation, you can go back in the video and just pause it, and when I mention this, you want to work out what your potential is. Are you going to hit this first and be restricted in your shipments, or are you going to hit this first? And obviously this is changing still on a weekly basis, where this will be fixed. And so you may have flipped that and go, okay, because for me right now, I can send in this before I even get close to this, and so therefore that is what I'm basing my purchasing on. And obviously at some point I might have to stop, but it should be fine. And so you want to just be aware of what this means. And again, if you realize that actually, crap, I can only send in an extra like 4,000 units, I've got 7,000, maybe it's time just to be a little bit cautious, see what you've got in inventory, maybe pull back on your purchasing and buying high volume stuff until, as in, don't go and buy 500 or 600 units of one ACE, and maybe buy 50 or 100. And then you can use that scale, obviously, depending on the size of your business. If you're a newer seller, of course, you wouldn't be buying 600, probably you'd be buying 50 or 60, but it may be that you have to bring that down to 30, because you want to have a good range of products they're putting in front of the customers' faces over Q4, but you also don't want to be really flirting with that maximum too much, because if there's new products that you find that are good to sell, you can't really buy a lot of them. And so you've got to kind of manage this as the weeks progress, and then obviously then you've got to see what the deals then you've got to see what deals come out. You don't want to be restricted in purchasing new products because you've ramped up too quick, and now you find that you've kind of got a bottleneck, which is now in your ability to send in stock. And so you want to be checking this now that it's finalized, just to check that everything is okay. I don't really send oversize or any of these things in, so it's kind of irrelevant for me. I got 15, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, this is going to be important over Q4, especially coming into October, where you don't, people are buying Q4 stuff and they're sending it in, but it may not be selling like a Q4 product just yet. You may have to wait till the end of November to see an actual uptick or uptrend in sales or volume of the sales. So you may, I find that October is not massively different to September in terms of sales. It is an improvement, but nothing noticeable. And so really though, you need to have a lot of stock in October, because as soon as November ticks in, things start going 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, 7x, 9, 10, probably up to 20x. So where you were selling 10 a day, you could be selling 200. So you want to be prepared in October, but you also want to be aware of what's going on as you're then preparing. Otherwise, you may end up sort of being oblivious to this a little bit and just buying and trying to send it in, and at some point you'll come and you won't be able to send in any more stock, and then you'll be like, oh, but I've got all that stock that I purchased this week or yesterday or today, and then what about all those new deals? Because obviously you've got to shift that stock to get this down to then allow new stuff to come in. So you're kind of bottlenecked massively there, and you're restricted to be buying, from buying new products that could be even more profitable than what you've already got in stock, because of course as October creeps in, new deals come out based around Christmas. There are some now, but more and more and more as you eke into October and November, there's even more deals to be had. So you want to be careful and just monitor this so that you can actually track and have a good and successful Q4. So I'm going to leave it there. So hopefully you got some insight into this. And yeah, let me know if you've got any comments about this, because it's really interesting. But it just shows that you don't necessarily have to have a good IPI to still be able to send in a lot of stock. And it will be account dependent. Very new sellers will feel probably the pinch a little bit more, will feel a bit more restricted. But that also gives you an insight that if this continues in the future, how to get around that, and that an IPI isn't as important as you might have thought. Yeah, might have thought as you scale your business. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully you like it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.